Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Top 10 players for this Texas Tech program heading into the 2024 year, a team that I am extremely excited about. And after getting into some of my deep dives on this Texas Tech program, then looking at the landscape of the Big 12, I think one of the most exciting aspects about this Texas Tech program is they can certainly win the conference in 2024. And then you look at their schedule and say they don't play Kansas State, they don't play Utah in the regular season. In my mind, there's not a team that Texas Tech is not capable of beating in the Big 12. And if they can find just a little bit more consistency, which kind of lacked in the 2023 year, I think we are looking at one of the more dangerous teams in the Big 12. And for the Texas Tech fans that have been rocking with the fellas the last couple of years, that you guys know that I am a massive fan of what Coach Joey McGuire is doing, not only on the recruiting trail, but in the transfer portal. And I think that's reflected with this Texas Tech roster, where you kind of look at the depth chart and say, there's not that many holes in this Texas Tech program heading into 2024. Fired up to get into this one. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. And it's been an absolute blast taking deep dives into all of these programs. But I think more importantly, how much I'm learning from you guys and all the support you guys have shown in the comment section. That stuff, it means the world. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, from the Texas Tech fans, I would love to hear some players that I might be sleeping on that I have to add to the notebook heading into 2024. I think back to 12 months ago when we did our deep dive into Texas Tech heading into 2023. You guys gave me some absolute gems to add to the notebook. Would love to get some more gems heading into 2024. And without further ado, let's get into this one. We got to start with running back Tahj Brooks, the number one player on this Texas Tech team. Quite frankly, one of the best running backs in the country. It's easy to get wrapped up in terms of what Tahj Brooks does from a flashy perspective, some of the big plays, obviously the phenomenal stat line that he had in 2023. My favorite attribute of Tahj Brooks is the consistency in terms of how he runs the football. This is a quarterback-friendly running back that is going to set up quarterbacks in friendly down and distances. He's a guy that turns a 2nd and 8 into a 2nd and 6, turns a 3rd and 4 into a 3rd and 2. This is a running back that has an extremely thick lower half. He deals with contact exceptionally well. And I don't know if you see a running back across the country that is better in those short area kind of phone booth situations than Tahj Brooks. Basically a human joystick, 96 missed tackles forced. Yes, it is fun to watch him have those flashy plays, but his consistency in terms of how he runs the football is not going to be something that's talked a ton about by the national media. But I think the most important aspect that he brings to this Texas Tech team, there are not many running backs that can be bell cows of offenses like Tahj Brooks. And I think you have one heading into 2024, the number 2 player on this Texas Tech team. And quite frankly, just one of my guys, Jaylen Conyers, coming from Arizona State in the transfer portal, a transfer portal commitment that I think kind of flew under the radar. This kid is a difference maker at the tight end position. And I think it flew under the radar because he's been playing at Arizona State, which just had a brutal passing attack the last couple of years. A true matchup nightmare at the tight end position that has just a massive physically imposing frame that can operate after the catch. This is what you're looking for in a tight end, and a guy that can give you some of those explosive plays, but also give you some of that red zone value, can command the middle of the field. And I think he's going to fit really well in this Texas Tech offense, where you kind of look at some of the wide receivers they have on the boundary, true freshman Micah Hudson kind of headlining that group. I look at a guy in Conyers and say he can have a massive year, work in the middle of the field in this Texas Tech passing attack. He's going to have a lot of opportunity, and I think he's one of the more talented tight ends that we see in the country, coming in at number 2, maybe a little bit high, but I'm certainly doing some projection in terms of what Jaylen Conyers can bring to this program, going to number 3. And let's talk about another transfer portal addition that, again, kind of flew under the radar. As a Michigan fan myself, I was hoping Michigan would go out and get this kid. I thought was truly one of the diamonds in the roughs in terms of wide receivers available in the portal. Josh Kelly. You look back at the 2023 year, 61 catches, 923 yards, 8 touchdowns, averaged almost 15 yards per reception. My favorite aspect about Josh Kelly is he can do pretty much everything that you're going to ask him to do. He can work vertically down the field, make some absolute circus catches, attacking the deeper third. He's also a lead after the catch. I mean, 16 missed tackles forced during that 2023 year. When you have a wide receiver that you can get involved in the offense in so many different ways, I think it's massive for this Texas Tech offense. And you start looking at the talent that is around Morton at the quarterback spot, I think they got some real juice. Again, true freshman Micah Hudson, Josh Kelly. We just talked about Jaylen Conyers, Tahj Brooks running the football. If Morton can stay healthy, that offensive line comes together. We're going to talk about some offensive linemen down the road. This Texas Tech team can really put up some points in 2024, going to our number 4 player. And let's talk about a transfer portal offensive lineman in Vinnie Sciury. And I'll say this, I was not too familiar with Vinnie Sciury until I kind of dove into this Texas Tech program. You go back and look at some of the numbers from him at Toledo. You go back and watch some of the games. Not only the numbers are phenomenal. I mean, 412 pass pro snaps, only gave up 2 sacks, only 6 quarterback hurries, has played almost 2,400 snaps during his career. When I am evaluating group of 5 transfers bumping up to the Power 5 level, I always try to go and get a sense of, how did they play against Power 5 competition at the group of 5 level? You turn on the film with Vinnie Sciury, phenomenal game against Illinois where he was routinely working against NFL caliber defensive linemen and guys like Johnny Newton. I think this is a guy that kind of slots in and is just going to be a damn good guard in the Big 12. All conference potential for Vinnie Sciury. Massive pickup in the transfer portal on the interior of the offensive line, going to number 5. And let's talk about Bralyn Lux. And this was a kid that was not necessarily on my radar heading into the 2023 year. There was a lot of talent in that Texas Tech cornerback room going into the 2023 season. Guys that are now in the NFL. I look at Bralyn Lux and say, this kid was probably the best cornerback on Texas Tech last year. With 40 tackles, 9 pass breakups, led the team in pass breakups, a 46% completion percentage when targeted. You turn on the film and just say, he's really sticky. I mean, if you want to beat a guy like Bralyn Lux in coverage, you have to be very good because the throwing windows are just not very present when Bralyn Lux is on the football field. All conference caliber cornerback, in my opinion, in the Big 12. And a guy that, again, was a pleasant surprise after diving into that Texas Tech team in 2023, going to number 6. And let's talk about just the defensive chess piece in CJ Baskerville, a guy that was second on the team in tackles. He plays all over the football field for Texas Tech. And we say this all the time. These kind of players are becoming vital in the modern era of college football, where teams are trying to get as much juice and athleticism on the football field, on the offensive side of the football. You have to be able to counter that and have guys that can give you that coverage ability, but also have the ability to come into the box and be very useful in run support. CJ Baskerville was that kind of guy. A 1% missed tackle rate is an absolutely insane number for CJ Baskerville. Quite frankly, I think I might be a little bit low on this cat heading into 2024. You can do a lot of different things with him. He can play the zone coverage. He can play nickel. He can be a force in the tackle box, stopping the run. I really like this kid. And again, one of the more important players that you see in the modern era of college football. Going to number 7, and let's talk about quarterback Morton. Got to stay healthy. Obviously, we talked about Tyler Shuck in a very similar manner last year. When Morton was on the field, they were 6-2 when he was as a starter. It just needs to find that consistency. I think you'll find that consistency if he is able to stay healthy. I think it's really important to note that, 2 things were working against Morton last year. One, he was not the guy during offseason, right? Fall camp, spring practices. It was Tyler Shuck last year. He gets the full offseason as kind of the guy, the leader in this Texas Tech offense. We all know how talented this cat is. Was an Elite 11 quarterback out of high school, was a top 200 national prospect. This kid can sling it from an arm talent standpoint. He's athletic enough to extend plays. Again, what you're looking for with a guy like Morton is, can you find that consistency? And I think when you look at all the talent that he's going to have around him, I think he certainly can find that in 2024. Going to our number 8 player, and that's going to be linebacker Ben Roberts. Led this team in tackles, 107 tackles, all year, 6.1% missed tackle rate, 20 run stops. He plays downhill. He's always seeming to find the ball carrier. Although I should say, not necessarily a guy that I think goes top 100 in the NFL draft. Having those experienced linebackers that can pick through traffic and kind of give you that consistency is absolutely massive for Texas Tech, and that is Ben Roberts. You don't go over 107 tackles. You don't get lucky finding 107 tackles. You have to have a very good nose for the football, picking through traffic. Ben Roberts, certainly a guy that showed he can do that for Texas Tech. And again, you look at Texas Tech at 6.1% missed tackle rate for a guy that had over 107 tackles. That's a really, really impressive number for Texas Tech. Going to number 9, and we're going to go to another transfer on the offensive line, Davion Carter. Another guy that played really good football at the group of 5 level, a guy that gives you experience and versatility on the inside of the offensive line, has played over 1,700 snaps. It's hard to find starting caliber offensive linemen in the transfer portal. I think Texas Tech certainly has found some of those guys. And going to our number 10 player, and we're going to talk about Caleb Rogers. One, versatility. I mean, this is a guy that has played over 3,300 snaps. So the experience, the versatility, play tackle, sounds like he's going to play center, which is probably his best position. I think played tackle out of necessity for Texas Tech the last couple of years. Find me another offensive lineman that has played over 3,000 snaps during their college football career. I don't know if you can do that. And so when you combine the experience, the versatility that Caleb Rogers brings to this Texas Tech program, I start looking at it specifically on the inside of the offensive line and say, this unit is checking off a lot of boxes on the offensive line. Now, the last slide I want to talk about is just a few of my guys that I couldn't put in the top 10, but guys that I think certainly could be top 10 players. Let's talk about some newcomers, obviously headlined by 5-star wide receiver Micah Hudson. The Texas Tech fans that follow the boys on the recruiting trail, you guys know I think this kid is special. I think the body control, the ability to operate. I mean, you look back at Micah Hudson at the high school level, there wasn't a box that he doesn't check. I mean, he can work vertically down the field, make some of those circus catches. He can operate after the catch. He is, I mean, truly one of the more special talents on this Texas Tech roster. And I would be very surprised if he's not a contributor early for this Texas Tech program. Another really intriguing name, Caleb Douglas, coming from Florida, very, very big frame that can work vertically down the field. I'd say the same thing about a guy like Coy Eakin, who another really pleasant surprise to this Texas Tech program. I'd throw in Jacob Rodriguez, a guy that looked like he was going to be a top 10 player for Texas Tech, obviously got banged up in the 2023 year, decided to redshirt. I like this Texas Tech team. I think they check off a lot of boxes. I think they're a relatively deep team heading into the Big 12. I think the big storyline for Texas Tech is, can they find that consistency? Can they stay healthy and kind of be the same team every single Saturday? And if you do get that version of Texas Tech, I look at the schedule and say I'm not counting Texas Tech out in any of these games heading into 2024. We'll wrap it up there. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, all the support means the world to the boys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.